Today I'm taking a look at the BESTMIG Flux 135. Okay, so it actually comes with some gloves. Kind of interesting. Nice soft interior. Here's our MIG gun. So this one actually has a threaded nozzle. And that tip is a 1.0. We do have a hang hook on the back. And we got a fairly stiff trigger on there. On the back we got our connector that does have a hole in the center so the wire can feed through. And we have our 2-pin trigger. We got our instructions and we got a couple extra tips. This is a 0.8 and we have a 1.0 in there. We got our stinger, so if we want to do some stick welding we can do that with this. And we actually got some really nice teeth on the inside of that guy. And that is a standard twist style lock. Here's our working clamp. Fairly basic except that this is entirely copper, which is something you don't normally see. And same twist style lock. And they also included a chipping hammer. It does come with some flux core wire, and this is 0.8, half a kilogram. So it looks like it comes with a mask. And we got some auto darkening welding goggles. So I'm guessing, yeah, that's kind of cool. So that'll just pop into the back. Looks like we are going to get some light shining through there, but other than that, we are going to have pretty well full concealment. Very interesting mask. And it looks like it does come with a couple of shields. Okay, so here is our welder. We got positive and negative, we got our MIG gun port, and we got our trigger port. It's like a single dial around the top, and a button for mode. On the back, we got our on-off switch. We do have active cooling, and that does use 120 volts, so we can plug that into a normal household outlet. So we got our tensioner, and we got our wheel. And the wheel is good for 1.0 and 0.8. We're going to be using 0.8 wire, so we want the 0.8 facing out. And we are going to be feeding from the bottom, so we want to make sure the wire is going counterclockwise. It's always a good idea to have needle nose pliers when you're doing this, so I'm just going to grab that wire, pop it out, and I want to hold the wire with one hand because we want to make sure that we do not unspring it. Cut off any weird bends, and then we can feed that through. There we go. So we got the wire coming out the other side. We can lock that down and put our tensioner back on. And we can feed onto that wire. Give it a twist to lock that down and plug in our control. Now I'm going to straighten out that cable as straight as I can get it, and we can turn it on. Okay, it's got a pretty fancy display on it. Flux 1.0, Lift TIG, MMA, or Flux 0.8. We're using 0.8, so I'm going to leave it on there, and we'll press the trigger. So I got the door open. We don't want to stick our hands in there, but we do want to keep that open just so we can make sure that we're not getting any kind of feeding problems. So we do have the wire. So now we can shut that off. And since we're using 0.8 wire, I'm going to use the 0.8 tip. So I'll just slide that on. And I usually just do these finger tight. If you want to, you can get pliers on there and torque that down. And we can take our nozzle and thread that on. And that is ready to go.
Working okay. I'm going to make it a little bit hotter. Go to 70. The only thing that's a little interesting for me is that the trigger is a little bit more tough in the squeeze. It's not a big deal, it's just one of those things where you're going to kind of have to get used to it.
So there is the big. So right here at the beginning, that's where I was running 60 amps, and when I got to 70 amps, that's where it really started flowing out. The only thing that's a little odd to me is definitely just that the trigger feel on that is very, very stiff. Of course, if you just got better grip strength than I do, then that's not going to be a problem. But the fact of the matter is that thing can definitely run a beat. So overall, that is an excellent welder.